I just picked up my third wide-angle lens for my Panasonic GH5, and I thought I would share some of my thoughts and what I'm looking for in a wide-angle lens, what made me purchase this. So yeah, let's start with some footage and then I will get into my thoughts and the rest of the video.
During the first 2 months of his illness, Albert lost 56 pounds. He was wasting away and in need of care.
So I got a new wide-angle lens. If you're familiar with the channel, you know that I film a lot of my stuff with wide-angle lenses. I was using this lens a lot. This is the Panasonic 7-14. It's an f4. It zooms and it's a little bit slow. The big thing I didn't like about this lens is I can't put filters on the end, to mostly an ND filter to like darken down the image. And the other lens I got is a much smaller lens. This one's made for drones and it's the SLR Magic and it's a 7mm. This one, the quality is not as great. I could put filters on the end, which was nice. I don't know, the way that it flared and the way that it looked in landscape shots, I didn't really like it that much. This one's also kind of slow, it's an f4. On this guy, the focus is kind of weird. The whole top part of the lens is the focus, so you undo this screw and then focus like that. So it was really easy to knock it out of focus, and then also to change the aperture, it's this dial, which is very stiff. And you just use your thumbnail and just twist it a little bit to change the aperture. So I always just put it at f4 and left it. The great thing about this lens though is that it's like $150. So if you're looking for something super cheap, this is the way to go. And this new lens is the Laowa 7.5mm f2. So it's a lot faster. It holds NDs and it doesn't catch them up in the corners. It's not catching it. I'm going to be selling my 7-14 zoom lens because after using this for like about 2 weeks, it's exactly what I want. It gets those wide landscapes. It's great for gimbal shots. It's great for like talking head in a 21:9 aspect, and it doesn't distort. Like if I go over here, it's a little bit wonky, but like I stretch a little bit if I'm close to the camera, but it just has that wide angle look without being like a GoPro where the edges go whomp. So yeah, enjoy the video. Here's the box. It says 500. It was $450 on Amazon. Not sure if it was on sale or that's just the new price. Compact Dreamer. It's got some foam in there. Keep it protected. A magnetic box, and then a drawstring bag that's plastic. And then focus ring. Doesn't feel amazing. It's okay though, it's pretty smooth. Aperture has clicks. So let's see. I've got this step-up ring for it. For my smaller lenses, I have a 6-stop ND. And for bigger lenses, I have a 77mm variable, which I can stack them if it's pretty bright out. And then I size them all up. All my lenses I size up to fit this same one, which is a 49. So this is exciting. If it doesn't catch the sides of this in the frame, that'll be super nice. It may though. Here's the GH5. This is what we use for work. 2 GH5s usually. It's nice and small. The aperture ring isn't too hard to reach and adjust. Focus wheel's right there. So here you can see, even though it's this wide, the lines go straight across and they're not bubbled out like that. Also, one other thing that I've noticed is, especially I have the variable ND on here, so whenever I go to adjust that, it's very easy to get a little finger in there. So you kind of have to be pretty careful, especially when doing handheld. So one of the things that I thought is pretty cool about this lens, even though it's micro four thirds at f2, it still looks pretty good. Because it's so wide, you're going to be getting close to the subject, and it's going to feel more like, I guess, more intimate, or more like you're in the scene. And when your camera's that close to an object, if you're wide open, you're going to have a pretty good shallow depth of field. Not like full frame, but enough where you're still able to keep things in focus and the background's a little bit blurred. So the background's blown out, but at f2 you get some interesting, it's an interesting perspective, and there's definitely some depth of field there. I just like how a lens this wide gives you the perspective of being like here. It's kind of like you're right there in the grass, whereas if you're much tighter, you're not going to see the fence, you're not going to see the clouds up there, and it gives you a cool environmental feel. Not to mention when you have a wide lens like this, let's see, focusing close, like that looks pretty awesome. Okay, so when you have a wide lens like this, you can move barely any, and it gives you, like, I'm moving about 5 inches right there, and it goes from being fully in the frame to being a little guy. So gimbal shots, that kind of thing, it's a lot easier to get sweeping movement, some parallax with barely any movement. One of the downsides of this lens is definitely a creative choice, and you have to like that style. There's a lot of stuff that I shoot for work where I would never use this, like corporate things, unless if I'm doing like an establishing shot of like the building or a room, or like the grounds, like a field or something. So one of the things that might be a downside for this lens, it is manual focus. For me, using the GH5, there is autofocus, but it's awful. It's not reliable. So all my other lenses are manual focus, and when I was using my 7-14, switching back to focus by wire, I don't know, I never was able to make the switch and focus well. So I just always go back to like the one-touch autofocus thing. So for shots like this, where I'm walking back and forward, you're limited. Like, you have to set the focus and then walk out to a point, because it's not going to follow you. But if you're already used to that, it's fine. Like when you have a lens this wide, I can be right here and be fully in frame and reach past my camera and grab the handle on the top. So in the menu in the GH5, it has like 3 options that just auto generate, like 24mm, 50, and something else, I think. I wish that I could change those so that I could make it 7.5, so that when I'm switching between, it's a lot easier to just hit yes and then the number, rather than having to go in and manually type it in every time. I was impressed with the flaring on this lens. When it's wide open, it's pretty interesting. It has circle flares, and then within it, it has an octagon, I think that's the right term, like an 8-sided flare. It definitely washes out the image though, so you have to be aware of that. A lot of the times I like to have the source in the frame, but if it's washing out, if there's a person in the frame, then that's something to be aware of. But this is awesome. Check this out. So here's what it looks like if your subject and light source are in the frame. And this lens seems like it is what I was searching for. Mostly I can mount NDs and still get that wide feeling. Doesn't catch the ND in the corner, and it's f2, so I can get some really cool depth of field, even though it's micro four thirds. It's also super tiny. It fits in a camera bag, it doesn't even look like a wide angle lens, which is weird. The other ones are much more, the front element is much more bulbous, and this one doesn't have that. And for what it is, it's not that expensive for the kind of look that you get. I found that it's pretty sharp compared with my 7-14. Just like a visual test, it seems just as good. And as a visual test on my SLR Magic, it's a lot better. The SLR Magic the sharpness was definitely one of the big issues with that. But yeah, hopefully that was helpful. If there's other tests that you'd like to see, or tests in between the lenses, like just direct comparisons in between the 3 lenses, just let me know down below and I might be able to put that together before I sell the 7-14. So hopefully this kind of review was helpful. I tried to include some stuff that was real world examples and comparisons based on always searching for going wider. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe and all those things. Thanks.